The housing market is accelerating as home prices continue to rise. The national median listing price increased by a double-digit percentage in April, reaching $341,600. As more signs indicate that the housing market is rapidly improving, many wonder if we are entering a housing bubble, and will the market crash or at least deflate shortly? In a blog post published at the end of March, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas found signs of a brewing U.S. housing bubble. The report stated that although the rapid rise in home prices by itself does not signify a bubble, there are additional important factors to take into account, such as shifts in disposable income, the cost of credit and access to it, supply disruptions, and rising labor and raw construction material costs are among the economic reasons for sustained real house price gains. When there is a widespread belief that today's robust price increases will continue, the housing market becomes unhinged from these fundamentals. If many purchasers hold this opinion, purchases motivated by a fear of missing out may increase prices and raise hopes for significant increases in home values. The report stated that household balance sheets appear to be in better shape, and excessive borrowing doesn't appear to be fueling the housing market boom, and that market participants and regulators are better equipped with solutions and early warning alarms to forestall a crisis of this kind. Home sales have plunged. With mortgage rates soaring at their quickest rate in decades, buyers are abandoning their plans. And there has rarely been such a chasm between forecasters over the market's direction. According to several indications, the housing market suffered a severe fall this year after the Federal Reserve abruptly ended a real estate boom stoked by the epidemic and historically cheap borrowing rates. Mortgage rates rose above 7% in October and November to 20-year highs before falling in recent weeks. Since the longest streak since the National Association of Realtors started keeping track of this information in 1999, existing home sales have decreased for 9 months through October. So will the housing market likely stay hot? There are numerous potential homeowners, with millennials and younger Americans accounting for half of the U.S. population, or 166 million as of July 2019. This is significant because, according to National Association of Realtors data, first-time homebuyers account for 31% of all home purchases. Furthermore, most first-time buyers are under 40, indicating that the buyer pool is large, a favorable indicator that demand will continue high, especially given that housing inventory is at record lows. We won't see a downturn because the housing market saw little increase in inventory for the past 10 years. In a few years, Gen Z will be turning 30 and more financially ready to become homeowners like millennials were at their age, says Polina Ryshakov, Senior Director of Research and Lead Economist at Sunday, a real estate marketplace for distressed properties. This indicates that while inventory will continue to lag behind demand, housing demand will be at least as high. Housing analysts predict that the market will continue to be robust for years because of the extremely low supply, which also supports demand and higher property prices. Rick Sharga, Executive Vice President at Realty Track, said, "The supply-demand imbalance is the main reason why home prices have increased so rapidly. Home builders will need at least a few years to add enough new supply to restore market equilibrium after not producing nearly enough housing over the previous 10 years. The amount of time it would take to sell all the available homes at the current sales pace in a balanced market would be about 6 months. But the market now only contains 1.7 months worth of supply, indicating a stark imbalance in favor of sellers." Among the differences between today's housing market and that of the 2008 housing crash is that lending requirements are tighter due to lessons gained and new rules adopted following the last crisis. This suggests that mortgage applicants are less likely to default than those who applied during the pre-crisis lending period. Before the housing meltdown, it was normal for lenders to issue so-called no-doc loans, which did not require applicants to present proof of their income. Additionally, Many government-backed loans have a set of criteria, such as a minimum credit score and down payment. Authorities also demand that lenders, among other requirements, confirm a borrower's capacity to repay the loan. Rumors of a recession have begun to arise in what many observers have previously referred to as a strengthening economy. Last year, when inflation began to increase and consumer prices started to rise, alarm bells started to ring. But some positive trends are emerging. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median price of existing homes sold fell 0.2% to $363,000 from a year earlier in February. This marks the end of a record-breaking run of 131 straight months of year-over-year growth. According to NAR, overall existing home sales increased 14.5% from January to February, breaking a streak of 12 straight months of falling sales. But they were still down 22.6% from a year ago. According to preliminary data from the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, housing starts increased by 9.8% in February, contributing to the creation of much-needed inventory. According to Freddie Mac, mortgage rates decreased slightly in previous weeks and were 6.27% for the week ending April 13. Some customers appear to be leaving the sidelines due to falling prices. But even as the growth of home prices slows and the number of sales transactions rises, certain experts are still cautiously sure that the housing market is recovering. Are we on the verge of a housing bubble? Many economists expect the housing market is more likely to correct itself from the double-digit percentage rises seen in home prices the past few years, rather than crash. Partly because the persistent inventory issue keeps home prices up. However, some experts who follow the housing market predict that some areas may experience an increase in home sales and prices, particularly in places where home values have remained reasonable over the past few years when compared to the median income. According to some analysts, a significant proportion of borrowers have positive equity in their houses, placing today's homeowners in a considerably stronger position than those who are recovering from the 2008 financial crisis. As a result, there is little chance of a home market crash. More than what is now occurring, a housing market meltdown would normally result in a 20 to 30% drop in home prices and a decline in home sales. An increase in the number of foreclosures is another crash sign that has gone unnoticed. Will foreclosures increase in 2023? The fact that many homeowners, including those who are having trouble making payments, have seen a significant increase in their property values recently is a significant distinction between the current housing crisis and that of 2008. In other words, they are not underwater, which is when you owe more on your house than it is worth, yet still have equity in it. It is reported that homeowners who are facing foreclosure are taking advantage of their home's positive equity by refinancing or selling them for a profit. This trend will likely keep going in 2023. So, when should you buy a home? In any market, purchasing a home is a very personal choice. Homes are typically the biggest single investment that a person will make in their lifetime. Therefore, a strong financial foundation is important before making a purchase. Foreseeing what may occur this year while purchasing a home is not a good idea. Experts advise buying a home based on your needs and budget, rather than holding out for substantially lower pricing. If you locate a property you like in an area that also matches your budget, it may be appropriate for you. However, if you make too many sacrifices to purchase a house, you may experience buyer's remorse and be forced to sell the house. That's for today's video. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you guys with the next one. Till then, bye.